Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. I have been sharing with you for the past few months that I've been feeling this kind of not dreaded, but this kind of cloud and malevolence that's been around me in the background, feeling a sense of insecurity, of lack of safety, and a sense of doom that's in the background. Although I'm proceeding, trying to be positive, putting a happy face on everything, keep moving on and doing everything I'm doing, but this thing is in the background, churning around. And I had to acknowledge that this was a process that was going through. I've been also sharing with you that I have been sensing that there is another virus that's coming, and that there is a timing that's connected to December and sometime the early months of next year, March to May being the critical times. And suspended in the air around me, and I'm so afraid of it, I don't want to look at it. Part of the reason for this is that for the past 6 years, if not more, I've been channeling what was prior to occurrence, what's been happening around the world, these world paradigm shifting events and catastrophic events that are causing all kind of chaos and disturbance for all of us. I am at a point in my life right now where I am tired and exhausted to be labeled as the guy who always, like Chicken Little, that the sky is falling. And and maybe this is what's been holding me for looking at that space. And I've been pushing it back. I'm not dealing with this. It's been around me. It's in the field, in the torsion field. It's around to that area, and I'm not looking at it. I don't want to deal with it. On Friday, I went to have dinner with my sister Marjorie and a guest, family friend, and we had a wonderful time, wonderful conversation. It was great. It was wonderful to have that kind of like easy flowing conversation, intellectual, all kinds of things. It was beautiful company. And when I got home, I did my prayer and went to bed. During the night, I had a powerful dream. I dreamed that I was flying to this giant tunnel of light going upward. And at every stage of this elevation and ascension, I was counting the stages through which I was moving. And I elevated 10 different levels. And I remember in the dream very clearly, when I got to the 10th level, I tried to go higher. And for whatever reason, I was not going higher. And I remember being a little bit frustrated, saying to myself, wow, why can't I fly any higher? I want to go higher. And I couldn't go any higher. And I got kind of like suspended, or a glass ceiling, or whatever you want to call it, an invisible force holding me at the 10th level. And when I woke up that day, I did my morning routine and I was taking the shower. I could hear in my head, and this is the way the channeling starts for me, I could hear the Guardian, the Galactic Region Council talking in my head, like the beginning phrases, sentences through the beginning of the channeling. And I could hear it in my head. And the words were going on as I was taking a shower. So by the time I had my cup of coffee in hand, I opened the computer, I began to write. I began to channel the information that was coming through. And I am happy to say, although the information from a 3D perspective is scary, but the way they frame it, the lens, the way they opened my sight to it, and the way they explained it, the Galactic Region Council, was a newness to me, because it clarified. It's not that information I probably did not know when I think about it, but it brought and explained things in such a clear and simple way that I understood finally what was happening. Instead of feeling scared about the change, because at the very end of the channeling, there were what you call it, there were prayers, including the Archangel Michael prayer and how to say it. And then there was also a channel prayer that I will be saying tonight during our meditation. And that channel prayer is how to help us find safe passage into the new earth. There was something about the frequency of the channeling that's extremely supportive and comforting, but to my mind and my consciousness is allowing me to find great comfort. And in some ways, I wish I had done this a month ago, because I would have avoided all of the feeling of insecurity and dread that I was feeling for a month now. And the channeling talks about the fact that where we are right now is this juncture. And it's, of course, not for a lot of the information. Some of you already know that are following, that are my students or regular students. But of course, this is for the general public in general, for general consumption. It explained the background information of the agitation, the division, and the separation, the bifurcation that's happening in the planet right now. And of course, the influential, manipulative, and toxic role that the Archons are playing in inflating all of us into reactivity, causing all of us to become emotionally so agitated that we get overwhelmed and lose control. There was great detailed explanation about the process of simulacrum. They explain things that I didn't know. They give illumination to things I was not completely aware of, in terms of how the Archons, because they exist in our DNA, as fallen angels, they mixed their blood to humanity and degraded all 12 strands of DNA into 2 strands. And when they did so, they basically dumb us down, but they are not external to us. The mistake that a lot of light workers and a lot of us are making all the time is that we keep thinking that they're external to us. Like when I go online and I see people talking about the cabal and they're all, infected with Archon and they are this and they are the other, and they are not even looking at themselves. Everyone on the planet is influenced by them. No one is exempt. So to keep claiming that it's the government, it's, Bill Gates, it's Fauci, it's that or the other, you're missing the point that they exist in you. And the way they influence, since they cannot create emotion, is that any feeling that you have, they can inflate it to a process that I've described before, but this time explained in a very different way in the channeling called simulacrum, which is when they inflate. It's a process where they make something up to look and mirror what already exists in you. Although it looks like the genuine thing, it feels like the genuine thing, but if you look closer enough, you will realize it is not. This is simulacrum. And for you to catch this, for you to catch the difference between your authentic emotion and simulacrum, you would have to have been doing a lot of deep spiritual work. You will have to have been doing emotional intelligence, social intelligence, hopefully spiritual intelligence work to be able to catch it, because the nuance is so close. The degree of separation between the two is so slight. The best way that I can describe, because when you're in simulacrum, it feels like you're having a genuine gut feeling. It's typically very loud, very overwhelming, very big, very loud. You feel like you're having a genuine, emotional reaction, and more to the point, it also feel at that moment that there is a flicker. Is this the right feeling? There's a doubt. You feel torn internally. There's a part of you that has sovereignty still, that will begin to say, don't trust this. And there is a doubt, and there is confusion. So if you're experiencing these very powerful and strong emotions, where you're having all of what I'm describing now happening to you, it's simulacrum. The big thing, the loud thing that you're experiencing is simulacrum. And it's typically related to fear. A fear of some kind. And so if you're not, again, if you're not paying attention to the subtle differences, or put differently, if you're an average person on the planet, you don't stand a chance to discover the difference. Because if you're not doing this work, you're not going to get it. You're going to think that big thing that you're feeling, the overwhelming emotion, the one that's connected to the fear, etc., is the real thing. And this is the way that this is the tool that they've been using to radicalize the planet into two camps. This is what we're all witnessing around the world right now, the big division, the big rift. We're seeing people that we thought we knew transform into these ogres, these crazies, this kind of like irrational members of cult, to the point that they are not who we remember having relationship with before. And you cannot talk to them because they are of the belief, because of this radicalization, that they know there's a huge fear that they're being agitated about, and they are being called to action to stop the fear, because the planet or humanity's future is in danger. And because there is this danger, they must violently battle and go to the street and oppose and burn and destroy everything that stands in their way. That's what Simulacrum and the influence of the Archon is doing, is to try to inflate us into this kind of like crazy behavior. Let me see, it might be Celia, I don't know. Somebody buzzed me. Okay, I was in a. So, so because of this, this understanding of simulacrum and how they're inflating all of us, and yet with all of the predictions, they have predicted, for example, that there is an imminent outbreak or pandemic. Well, no, it's not pandemic yet, it's an outbreak of a pathogen that will become a full pandemic in a matter of 4 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months. And that they're saying that this time it will show up as why don't I read it? That's the best way for me to actually do this the best way, okay? All right, I'm going to read the part about the Archon, and then I'll get into and then I'll make some comments, okay? What may cause you to become extremely agitated by fear, panic, may not be the result of the grounding of the 3D reality in you. The Archon, an ancient adversary of the evolutionary growth of humanity, are busy inflating your emotional body through a process called Simulacrum. They are fallen beings and principalities that originally mixed their blood with humanity and caused the degradation of 12 strands of DNA into 2 strands. They exist in your blood and cannot create anything new, but are capable of corrupting any emotions that you may be feeling to an extreme and inflate expression by adding to it what looks like the real thing. However, if you pay careful attention, you will realize that it is not. This almost perfect emotional inflection is known as simulacrum. It takes a lot of inner evaluation and dialogue to be able to discern the difference between authentic emotions and simulacrum. If you're not doing emotional intelligence work to discover the subtle difference, you have no chance for the Archon or invisible to you, and will make you feel that the entire scope of your inflated reaction belongs to you. You have to own what is yours and not take responsibility for this exaggerated reaction that are manufactured by the group body of fallen angels trying to agitate and separate the world. But for that to happen, you have to believe that the Archon exists. Unfortunately, most of humanity does not believe in them, but that will not stop them from wreaking havoc in the world. They are the real reason why you're experiencing such great rifts and emotional divide in the world. They are agitating both sides of the separation to simulacrum, setting the planet for battle and combat. Both sides of the divide have been radicalized by simulacrum and are convinced that there is a correction that needs to take place, and that they know the only true path into the future Earth. Moreover, they have to go into full battle to violently impose the change that they are pushing into the world. Here is the cosmic truth. The path to the new Earth does not exist in this bifurcation. It is a third path that only can emerge when you can unmask the manipulation of the Archon and surrender your fear into the blessed field. Now, here is the truth. This is my comment now. Here's the truth. The Archon, although they are doing their shenanigans, what they are not realizing is that they are serving a purpose. They are serving a cosmic purpose. And the channel continues. Now this preamble is out of the way, we will proceed to let you know what exists in the future horizon. Be aware that what we're looking at are potential for manifestation. As always, the possibility exists that collectively, if you make different choices, certain outcome may change. It takes a critical mass to agree emotionally on a course of action for a wave function to collapse, causing an event to show up in your reality. Now, here is where the prediction begins. Since the lesson of the first pathogen was not assimilated, there is a second pathogen on the future and imminent horizon with the possibility of full-scale pandemic in less than 3 to 6 months. This time, the potential for massive human die-off is indicated. Connected to this are mass protest, migration, food shortage, lockdown of human population. This will trigger the collapse of economies, fortune, and may cause many to be distressed. Additionally, political and social unrest, lawlessness, riot, civil wars, wildfires, drought, flooding, hurricanes, earthquakes, and volcanic activities, and typhoon in an increasingly alarming rate will be experienced. These will further generate great fear, uncertainties, and panic. Now, this is a lot already, okay? We're talking about some sort of pandemic coming up. I'm not sure exactly what form it's going to take because they didn't describe. And they're also talking about migration issue, protest, food shortage, and population lockdown that will cause economies and fortune to collapse, something akin to what we already experienced, but apparently the way they're saying and indicating in terms of human die-off, it's going to be much more distressful, much more massive. Secondly, they are describing what many of you are suspecting: political and social unrest, lawlessness, people are getting killed and shot and assassinated for no reason, no rhyme or reason everywhere. I don't know about other countries, but certainly in our country. They're talking about the potential of a civil war. And of course, the climate change events that are taking a myriad kind of expression, like wildfire, drought, flooding, hurricane, earthquake, volcanic activity, typhoons, etc. And all of them causing great fears, uncertainties, and panic. Now, here's the part of the channeling that gave me great comfort. Yet all of these predictional experiences are part of the test. They are a crucible of fire and purification. On one side exists the painful physical reality, and on the other are the opportunities to find transcendence and elevate past the illusion and the Maya of the 3D benevolence and find liberation. It is so counterintuitive to see these experiences as gift and opportunity for you to find spiritual elevation. But this is what they are from a God perspective. In other words, what they're saying here is that all of this catastrophic, uncertain, and fearful event are an opportunity for us to transcend the message of the 3D reality, which is that everything on earth is about destruction of us and benevolence. And we have to somehow find a way into liberation and some sort of transcendence. It is so counterintuitive to see these experiences as gift and opportunity for you to find spiritual elevation. But this is what they are from the God perspective. Let us be clear. God is not creating them, but humanity is collectively selecting them by group body actions or inactions. They are there to help humanity find this narrow bridge that will demonstrate the path into the new earth. Now, the Archons are agitating all of these things that I'm talking about just now. Not only, what they're doing is that they may not be creating all of the, let's say, climate change event, but they are manipulating our reaction to them, or perception of benevolence. They're inflating all of this. They're busy doing all of this, right? What they're saying here is that they are here to help humanity find a narrow bridge that will demonstrate the path into a new earth, a radically different way of existing in the universe. The transition into a new dimension is always confusing, terrifying, transformative, and rewarding experience. And now they're using an example. When a caterpillar goes into chrysalis stage in a cocoon, every cell in his body is liquefied before it emerges as a butterfly. This is not a comfortable, painless, or quiet process. Rather, it is disturbing, loud, and filled with continual painful releases of old identities. I'm going to stop here for a moment. So what they are saying is that very much like the caterpillar, whatever we're going through, the planet collectively is going through right now, we are going to have to find which way we go. On the one side, there is the physical reality that's telling you everything is out to destroy you and there's malevolence everywhere, and you have to figure out a way to survive and try to control all of this. And therefore, you have to battle and you have to fight. On the other hand, you can begin to look at them in a different perspective and see all of them as opportunity to transcend and traverse and go beyond the desire to just survive and go into. There was a sentence in there that was very powerful. I'm going to it's at the first paragraph. So I'm trying to see if I can find it. Yes, here it is. This is the first paragraph in the middle of it, okay? Any external event and triggers that are leading you to perceive the world as evil and acting against humanity led by individuals, groups, and human collective are not completely true. It is the nature of the test to trigger your emotional body into blames and attempt to control the world by creating a linear narrative and story that are but one aspect of the ever-expanding progression of truth. What these narratives and realization represents are a moment in space-time. It is but a part of an infinite progression, like facets of a vast jewel, each reflecting the light differently. Rather than focusing on one reflection, you should endeavor to process the complete radiance of all of the facets. This will feel completely counterintuitive to calm your emotional reaction by letting go of your desire to control, to do, and fix what is happening around you, and to let the blessed feel bring you to an elevated and expanded perception that will show you a bridge into the higher dimensional awareness. The fear triggers emotional reaction of the 3D cannot give you access to 5D. And here's the sentence that I love. To go from malevolence into benevolence as the fundamental currency of the universe will require a period of adjustment. I love the sentence. To go from malevolence into benevolence as the fundamental currency of the universe will require a period of adjustment. This is what you're living through right now. You have to move toward the path less traveled and let the vast continents whisper and imprint in you a different map that will lead you to a new reality. There is no going around this. If you, you have to individually feel your way into the new earth. And for that to happen, you have gradually to trust that the universe will always support you. So the idea that we can go from perceiving the world, because all these experiencing are doing one thing. They are creating fear, and they are causing every one of them to go into crisis and to believe that the world is now benevolent and the world is rising against them. Okay? Because there's fear about everything. Because you're losing your job, because you're losing, whatever, there's fear everywhere. So if you can calm yourself down and find a way to create peace and serenity in your heart, and to go deep in this kind of like state of releasing the fear that are being generated, not only your fear that are your own, because I have my own paranoia, I have my own fear, etc. Those are, I'm acknowledging them, but also the simulacrum that are being created by the Archon. If you can differentiate between the two and you take all of it and you say unto your higher power, I release this unto you, and I need to be at peace and at rest, then you begin to elevate and begin to understand the experience from a different perspective. And moreover, as uncomfortable as the 3D physical world is, or appear to us, because there's a part in the prayer where they mention the true nature of our being. As uncomfortable as the 3D, like we have one of our students that's not part of this group, but Marilyn, who just got out of hospital, almost died of COVID because she was on a ventilator, okay? And we were all praying for it was touch and go for 2 weeks now. So that's an uncomfortable reality, but there's a threat, right? Yet as uncomfortable as all of this is, it's an opportunity for her and for all of us to get in touch with our mortality, to get in touch with what's important, and to find some sort of transcendence. If we can release the experience to the higher powers, we can begin to perceive something about the ephemeral nature of the 3D reality. Okay, here's the key. Time and space-time, the continuum of space-time, is an illusion. According to every scientist, it's an illusion. It's a convincing and what may appear at times a final illusion, but it is an illusion. And what they're saying for you to find the path into the emerging path into the new earth, to find the place where benevolence is now a currency in the universe, we have to go through this test where everything is extremely loud and catastrophic and fearful. Yet through it, we have to find a narrow bridge that will lead us into the true nature of being. which is that benevolence permeates everywhere. We have to figure out a way to separate from the loud and begin to allow a different awareness to show up. Now, the reason why it's not that visible right now, it's for the same reason they were describing about the future and the wave function collapse. There is not enough of us who are grounding the energy in us, therefore it's not visible to the collective. This is where you and I come in, because we are the way showers. We are the one that promised that we're going to do this work. So we are the chariot. We have to figure out a way through all of the scales to still find that benevolence in all of this. And this is why they are saying that the experience is going to be counterintuitive. On the one hand, there are all these crazy stuff that is telling us we're going to, we're in danger, 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 Mr. Robertson, danger. And we have to still find a way to say, I need to calm down and I need to discern the true lesson from this. And I need to find the higher perspective. I remember in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they describe us as mental, a body of mental tendency on emptiness. And then they were talking about in this one passage in the section called the benevolent deities. Oh, no, not the benevolent, the wrathful deities, sorry, wrong term, the wrathful deities. And in this passage, they were describing this, the person going to Bordeaux as being devoured and separated and quartered by a demon that was bigger than the sky. And they said, whatever happened to your body, you cannot die because you're a mental body of unconscious tendencies existing on emptiness. That's the true nature of your being. And what you're experiencing that seems so convincing and so real right now is emptiness. It's a projection and an illusion. It's a fabrication of your consciousness. Just the same way what we're going through right now is a collective fabrication of human consciousness. And the way they said it in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, emptiness cannot harm emptiness. Since you are also a mental body of unconscious tendency in emptiness, you are not going to die. Meaning that souls are immortal, the essence of your being, your consciousness is not going to disappear. Nothing is going to happen to you. You may cease to exist in a state and get transformed into something else, but nothing is going to happen to you. You will prevail. Any questions, any comments?
Pierre?
Yes.
This is a class I have to listen to again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving a lot of information there. So I'm asking, could you please send it?
Not a problem. Not a problem. I will. Yes, I will. Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments?
Pierre, this reminds me of how more and more scientists and physicists are talking about realizing that all this space that is around us is actually intelligent, mm-hmm. and it's interacting with us, and we are interacting with it. And they have it at different levels. Like now they documenting even how our DNA is interacting with this space. Mm. They also starting to document this, and our emotions certainly, and it's the idea that that space always has been intelligent and therefore malevolent, but I'm sorry, benevolent and supportive. We
Mhm,
just didn't realize it. And but it's kind of like taking the red pill, almost like once you realize it, and the more and it's kind of, I feel, there's probably a connection between what science is doing and how I speaking for myself, how I relate to it, because I find it easier to believe it
mhm,
in, with my whole being. So it's less of just words and more like I'm believing it with my entire being. And maybe science supporting this has something to do with it as well.
mhm,
Unintentionally, not like intentionally I chose, to believe it more because science says so, but maybe people who are more science oriented, they beginning to believe it as well and seeing it.
mhm.
Because I the more I see this information on the internet, the easier I find it to believe, like with my entire being, that indeed that's what it is and always had been. We just didn't know, and now we can start readjusting everything, because that really changes everything about how we see the world around us and ourselves in it. So I find that helpful as well.
Yes, 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 Ursula. Thank you. The thing about it is that it's a huge leap. And I'm going to talk only about myself. Even though I channel this, it's a huge leap for me to go from the experience that I've had in my past, growing up in the Caribbean, in Voodoo Island, with all of the fear and all of that, for me to go from this constant perception of malevolent environment into trusting. Although at the moment I can feel it when I'm in the blessed field. When I channel, I can feel the benevolence, but I am not part in it.
Right. That's true too.
Yeah. And so the idea is that the new earth somehow is parked in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to create, as the way showers, we have to ground this in us first. We have to become the embodiment of this benevolence. We have to figure out a way to become it. I'm still trying to wrap my head and my body and my energy around this.
Yeah.
I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah, but yeah, I just find it. I mean, I agree with you that I find myself in and out of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I find it easier.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I know it's not just my work. I think there is something happening either with the science, or I'm not sure what it is exactly. Maybe just more and more people are looking for something and finding this and connecting with that, because it does feel much easier to me.
Yeah.
The understanding that it is intelligent, and they're not just saying that it's intelligent in the sense like in quantum physics, but they also saying that it's intelligent but also supportive,
Yeah.
specifically benevolent and supportive. And they somehow they find ways to document it now.
Right.
They have all these different technology that measures how our DNA interacts with this field.
Yeah.
And then they really must be doing some cutting edge work, because there's something about it that helps.
Now, I'm going to take a leap there. Janice, I'll get to you in a second. I'm going to take a leap there and say this. If enough of us, if the critical mass of us have embodied this benevolence, we will alter the collective experience as well. And we will lead it into a benevolent reality around many other people.
Oh, I think you touched upon something interesting, because right now, the science, they kind of doing the leap, I suppose, because some are just recognizing that the field actually is intelligent, but there are also some that are recognizing that our emotions impact the DNA, and the DNA interacts directly with the field.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you could say that we're realizing that because our emotions, they talk about the emotions and the DNA, but it's also the thought. We have to remember that the thoughts that creates everything, right? At some point. So there is that's maybe more that part talking about actually embodying it.
Right. Janice, you wanted to say something?
Thank you, Pierre. I did have a couple of comments or questions. Actually, too many that I can probably even remember right now, but it seems to me that trust is going to be a big issue for a lot of us, finding a way past experiences, where you were brought up in the Caribbean. All of us have experience in the past of traumas or troubles that make us feel they could return, or you could be vulnerable to them again. But it also, at the same time, I'm feeling a great deal more comfort in the recognition of the degree or the severity of any fear being often in the inflation of the archons. So would it be safe to say that the degree to which you are experiencing negative emotions or fears is the degree to which you have to release the attachment that is Archon generated, and the dissolution of your own identities, your caterpillar state in the crystallis being dissolved so that it can emerge triumphant. So if you are being battered with negative impacts in your life, would that be safe to say that you have more to unpack? And the last thing I wanted to say is, perhaps you haven't been following the news, I don't know, but they're talking about a new variant, the Omicron variant. Yes, you know, okay. Right. So that it has erupted in South Africa and in, I think, 4 countries in Europe, and I don't remember, one South Pacific country, I believe. And while they don't know that it's here, it probably most certainly will come. So it sounds like that could be what your channeling was forecasting.
Yes, quite possible. Yes. Again, as I said, that timing, all of that was coming 4 months ago, and I refused to touch it because I was afraid of it. Georgie had a dream in which he saw the Virgin Mary and then Archangel Michael, and in the dream they showed him a landscape where there are all these dead bodies that were laid for miles, and they told him that it's being created because of dark forces and demons that are in the world. And so at the end of the channeling, I'm going to get to you with response to you in a second. I'm going around to answer it. I apologize. And so so yes, indeed, and they told him that it's a disease, it's a pathogen of some kind, and they also told him it's being created by these dark forces, what we would call the Archons. Mm-hmm. And they gave him, and this is the reason why during the channeling, the Archangel Michael prayer came in, I had to insert it in. Mm-hmm. Okay, because what he saw, by the way, he didn't know the Archangel Michael prayer, and Archangel Michael was saying the prayer to him. And when we had lunch the next day and he was saying it to me, he said, I don't remember. He began to say a few sentences of it. I repeated the whole thing because I've been saying this prayer for years. So independently in his dream, the whole thing came. To bring to the other point you made before that was the degree to which that you're in fear and your challenge. To my mind, it's the greatest opportunity that you have to let go of stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, the more that you are being challenged, the more difficult it is for you. It's the greatest opportunity that you have to let go if you frame it in your consciousness the right way.
Mhm. Would it mean that the more you're challenged, the more you have to let go of?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
And therefore, the more that's why I'm saying that the greatest opportunities that you have, because
Mhm.
if you see it from a God perspective, like they were saying in the channeling, it's something that will allow you to find that bridge much easier. Someone who is completely cushioned by all of these events is not going to have that opportunity.
Mhm. Mhm. Or would it be that you are targeted because you're way short?
That part is could be very true as well. And if you're able to go deeper and deeper into the root cause and the reasons why you're so deeply influenced and touched by this, then it's the funny thing about this is that the moment, it's not just when you release things in the blessed field like this, it's not just that emotionally you're calm, you're at peace, and you understand it from a God perspective, which is that part is true. Like they were describing in the channeling, the jewel with the multiple facets where you can see the whole spectrum, all the facets all at once.
Mhm.
It's not just that, but more to the point. What you should do in 3D to overcome the obstacle shows up as well. And you begin to understand that the obstacle, the boogeyman, was never a boogeyman to begin with. Do you see what I'm saying? So you may feel like you're being challenged, oh my God, oh my God. And when you get to the other side, you not only emotionally or calm down in that rest, because you could be calm down in that rest and be resigned that you're finished. You understand? But no, a solution set shows up and gives you what needs to happen for you to overcome the obstacle.
I can see that spinning off in several different directions. Very, very interesting. As if you're underwater and feel you're going to drown until you learn that you have gills and you can breathe underwater.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like you go into a different space. This is a great example, Janice. It's a perfect example. You know, all of a sudden you find that you have another capacity, and whatever it is that was the suffocating
Ambitious
agent,
plans today and never got the energy to do
it
that.
suddenly changed into something else. It's not a suffocating agent, and again, it's a miraculous change and an occurrence of transformative step forward, and all of a sudden you find yourself handling future situation similar to the one you're experiencing now in a completely different way. It's amazing.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions or comments?
So I just up here,
Yep.
did you get a sense if what your friend was seeing in that dream? I'm sorry, I forgot his name right now.
Georgie.
George, yes, thank you. Do you have a sense if when he was seeing, was it the same thing as the new variants, or there could
Yes,
be something
yes,
else? Oh, okay,
yes. This was about 2 months ago that
right,
he had that dream.
right. So that is potentially there could be
It's a new pathogen. It's a disease of some kind. He's not sure exactly what it is, because they don't tell you. These ascended masters never tell you this, because the form that the thing takes, they never describe it in the channeling.
right. So it could be what we're seeing now, or could be something else
It
potentially.
could be something else as well. Correct. They never describe it. Because when they are giving you these things ahead of time, They are giving you potential for manifestation in the future horizon. A lot of things could alter it.
Right.
If we
yeah.
shift, if we change, if we do this and that or the other, it could happen faster. You know, it could be a soft landing, it could be a hard landing. It depends on so many
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Okay. I
It
was
could
just curious.
manifest as existing virus mutating. It could manifest as a new thing. It could manifest as many things.
Right. It's too soon to tell for. Okay.
But the end result being the same, that there's going to be a massive human die-off.
Right. I didn't. I started reading your email. I didn't finish it yet. But you felt that because you mentioned in your email that you felt that it wasn't as bad as you thought it would be.
What I mean by that is that they're giving us tools.
Tools. Okay.
They're actually, and I'm going to go into that right now. They're giving us tools to handle this. They are framing the experiences in a way that because again, no, as I was talking to Janice just now, if you're challenged a lot, it means that you have a lot of opportunity to expand.
Oh yeah.
Do you understand? So it doesn't matter from a gut perspective whether it is a soft landing or a hard landing, as long as you can, because it's not a matter of punishing you and making it difficult for you. It's a question of you to learn. And if you learn faster, you will have less issues.
Right. Well,
if you move into a state of a new park in permanent benevolence, none of these things will touch you.
Right. I mean, you 100% correct that with the tools that you giving us and they giving us through you, we can, as you like to say, walk through it.
Yes.
Walk through it and learn from it, and benefit from it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly the tools make all the difference, because I was thinking about all the emotional intelligence work that we've been doing, and I had done codependencies and all those other things. It's very prevalent, and it's certainly a blind spot. Let us remember all these blind spots. But people not addressing it because they don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
When I look back, I knew there were issues, but I had no clue how I could address it. Not only with emotional intelligence helps, but you giving us this additional tool and the morphogen listening now that can be that much more faster and productive.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let me continue reading the channeling. We'll move a little bit further so that I can begin to talk about some of the tools, some of the things you're supposed to be doing. We understand that what we are describing now is not in the realm of possibilities for the average human being. It is too subtle and require too much work and discipline for the normal human being to do. But what they cannot accomplish, you as a way shower and volunteer had promised to do. Remember the oaths taken and assurances made when you volunteer to descend into this blue world. As you find this emerging expansion into the new earth in you, we want to remind you that what you're doing is becoming the actual structure bridge that will create the opening into the new earth. You will become the column and beams that will create this piece of trans-dimensional architecture, thus opening the gate to the higher reality. It is the power of the transformational radiance of the 144,000 volunteers that will become the bridge for the rest of humanity to follow. You are the chariots, and you play a pivotal role in this. You have to find the path in you and come together as a collective to radiate to humanity this frequency of liberation and benevolence that is so rare given the current chaotic external experience. So what they are reminding us here as Weshower, although the rest of humanity may not be able to do this because it requires too much work and discipline, we promise that we're going to do this. And they are reminding us that when we do this in us, when we find the benevolence and benevolence become a permanent state of being in us, and we are entrusted in this, and we will immediately begin to erect a structure or a bridge. And we will become, each one of us, a column or a beam in this trans-dimensional architecture that will open a doorway or gate into higher reality. And when 144,000 of us will have done this, the bridge will be complete and the rest of humanity will be able to follow. So that's a very powerful reminder. It's bringing Lord Melchizedek channeling that I did in, what was it, 2011, whenever it was, 2010, I think it was, about us becoming this boring and opening into the heavens. When he used similar terms where we're going to be bridges, architects and engineers, creating and boring and opening into the heavens. And we were supposed to be the beams and the columns in this edifice or this architecture. Kind of similar to the Tower of Babel. Now, then they're proceeding to describe what can be done by the average person on the planet. Although the average person on the planet may not have the discipline to do this work, there is something that they can do to help minimize the Archon emotional inflation in Simulacrum. After the prevarication of the Archon, the mighty Archangel were sent by God to imprison them, heal humanity, and restore genetic integrity. Archangel Michael led the charge. We highly recommend that this ancient prayer below be repeated for a 7-day cycle and be continually done over and over again. By doing this, you are calling upon the 7 mighty archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Camuel, Japhiel, Zachriel, and Uriel, to surround you in your experience and to create a ring pass not, a circle of fire and light that will banish all lower vibrations, disease, experiences, including those manufactured by the Archon. And there is a description on how to do the prayer. And then, as you all know, you all have that prayer. It's part of the channeling. The prayer is done. And in the actual text of the channeling as well, I recorded a video where I videoed myself doing the prayer, where I lit all the 7 candles as a way so that there is no confusion in how to do it. I demonstrated it completely, okay? And that way, if you follow the link, you will understand how to do the Archangel Michael prayer. Additionally, and this was very kind of the Galactic Regent Council, because they could have left it at this, just giving the Archangel Michael prayer and then be done. But the following paragraph after that, it says here, for those of you who do not connect to religious figures, you may want to follow this prayer below daily as a way to surrender the fears of the transition process of the chrysalis stage of doubt, fear, pain, and emotional confusion. And I'm going to read the prayer, although I'm going to do it with during meditation, but I will read the prayer at first. Prayer for safe passage into the new earth. Lord, help me find liberations on the dangerous path of transition and bardo into the new earth. Help me find your peace, serenity, and neutrality. I am besieged by visceral, loud, and overwhelming fear reactions to external events. Show me how to let them go. I feel afraid, vulnerable, and alone. I humbly surrender all of these burdens and disempowerment unto you. It is not my responsibility to fix, do, or control anything. Lead me into your rest and stillness. For I am but a body of unconscious tendencies in your emptiness. Empty me out of all identities, desires, and attachments. Help me find the emerging and endless gift, knowing, and awareness that occupy your countenance. The incomprehensible, infinite, and co-creative light and luminosity that exist in you. Help me find safe passage into the blessings of the new earth. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I completely surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Emancipate me into a complete merger with you. Help me find my liberation. And may the peace, serenity, and freedom that I know pass on to everyone in my circle of influence. Amen. So what they're sharing here is that even for those who cannot do or don't feel up to par to do the Archon work, to kind of, pick up on the simulacrum and do all the internal dialogue that are necessary, etc. If enough of us in the planet, I didn't write this down, but I felt this coming from them. If enough of us on the planet were to, let's just say, the Archangel Michael's sword prayer, or this second prayer that they give it there, on a daily basis, or collective experience, or the fear, or it's not that the experience would disappear, but the inflation and the simulacrum for the Archon would lessen, and we would be able to have a different relationship to the big paradigm shifting events that are taking place. So I'm not sure if the rest of the world, even those who are not ready to do this work, will want to say the prayer, but I sent it out there. I put it everywhere. I sent it to Twitter. I send it to Lincoln. I'm distributing it out to allow enough people to see it. And it is my hope that enough of them will, if enough of them see it and enough people begin to say the prayer. I was very generous enough to include the video on how to do the prayer so that there is no, if enough of us do this, our collective experience will change. I'm remembering part of the channeling that talked about the fact that collectively, if we take action, if we act or do not act, action and inaction becomes the key to how the wave function claps land, whether it's a hard landing or soft landing. So you may know people in your circle that may not necessarily be prepared to go that deep, but can they say the prayers on a daily basis? And you might want to share that with them. There is a link also, aside from the PDF I sent you. I'm going to send a group email on Tuesday, but there's a link also on your email that if you can forward the link to people, forward them, because it will take them right to the website. Because a lot of people are on their phone, they don't want to open a PDF on their phone because it's very difficult to maneuver. But if they have the link to the website, they'll be able, this website will be formatted, they'll be able to follow it. Any question, any comments about the tools? All right, if there are no questions, then let us take a 5-minute break. And in the back end, we'll do the closing meditation. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart blend with each other. Allow yourself to enter into coherence. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive energies all around you, 360 degrees. Without prejudice, keep breathing in deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Become aware of the variety of sensations perceptions, and knowing that are moving about you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And locate any insecurities about the future that may exist in you. Pay attention to any fears loss of control, or overwhelming emotional reactions. That may exist in you. Are these feelings 100% yours? What percentage of this belongs to you? Every resistance is an opportunity to grow. Pay attention to the subtle energetic difference that exists between your authentic feelings and the fear inflation from the Archons. Noticed the loud emotional seesaw, doubt, confusion that exists in the simulacrum of the Archon. Now shift your attention to your authentic emotions, your disempowerment, your genuine insecurities about the future, and your own fears. Lord, help me find liberation. On the dangerous path of transition and Bardo into the new earth. Help me find your peace, serenity, and neutrality. I am besieged by visceral, loud, and overwhelming fear reaction to external events. Show me how to let them go. I feel afraid, vulnerable, and alone. I humbly surrender all of these burdens and disempowerments into you. It is not my responsibility to fix, do, or control anything. Lead me into your rest and stillness. For I am but a body of unconscious tendencies in your emptiness. Empty me out of all identities, desires, and attachments. Help me find the emerging and endless gifts knowing and awareness that occupy your continents. The incomprehensible infinite co-creative light and luminosity that exists in you. Help me find safe passage into the blessings of the new earth. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I completely surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Emancipate me into a complete merger with you. Help me find my liberation. May the peace, serenity, and freedom that I know pass on to everyone in my circle of influence. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, open your eyes. How you all feeling?
Well, thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
Wonderful.
Pierre, the prayer, did you put it on Facebook too that we could share?
Yes,
Okay,
it's on Facebook. Yes,
okay, we can share. Okay.
yes. I want to remind you that the Archangel Michael prayer is so powerful that it will banish disease, weapons, poison, and all kinds of problems. Do not underestimate how powerful this prayer is.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. I was just, to be honest, I was just wondering.
No. I'm saying that as a general statement.
Mhm.
Because I didn't say it during the class. I just want you to be aware of this, that given the fact that we know there's a pathogen coming and if enough people were to say this is going to be a soft landing.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
All right, everyone. I want to thank everyone for listening to me tonight. I want to thank all my Patreon subscribers for listening to me every week. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for everything, for being a support to me. I'm going to put this also on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel, share this if you feel like it, and like it so that it will improve my algorithm. I truly appreciate it. Good night, everyone, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.